Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
And welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and it's Hump Day, which means it's Science Bob Day here on the big show. We're going to get into everything UFOs, and you know what tonight is? It's the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights. We're going to talk about that as well. Let us say hello to everyone who is in the chat room tonight, including Race Fan in the gold medal position, Laura Lobbs in the silver, Ann B with a nice bronze medal tonight, Chris 716, Marty Burback, and Dino Bravo, Robert Lamoth, how you doing? Michael Morris, lovely Linda Thompson. She might be in bed watching this, but I hope that bed bugs don't bite Linda. Yeah. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Brown Dwarf is back. Brown Dwarf will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Hi, SJ, Super Crazy, Cosmic Joe, Karyn in the Woo Train and Bar Madison. Good to see you. Deer Slayer, and my favorite, Mama Catherine. Mwah! Look at the smile you put on my face each and every night, my dear. I love you. Cannot wait to see you in Reno, and I love your morning text messages. They are just the best. Thank you. Lee the Bee and Luscious Jules, nice to see you. And there's Eternity Eternal, Sandra Kincaid and T-Bone. Good to have you both here as we continue on with our roll call. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Hi, Nina Williams, JSCO. Good to see you. Buckethead, the Soothsayer. How you doing, my man? Rocking on out, I hope. Little Cam on Twitch. Nice to see you. Science Bob, thank you for kicking off this super chat. I vote Sean Kirkpatrick for asshole of the decade. That's good. Super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very, very much. Thomas Rock, how you doing? Brandon Coast, welcome back. Hi, Ozzy. And who else is here? Wild Berry, nice to see you. Dragonfly and Digger Dog, good to have you here as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Who's over on Facebook? Well, there's My Love the Vine and Susan Lawrence, the pride of Indiana. Yep, we love her around here. Christine Lynn, good to see you. And who else is here? Susan Alloway is back. Susan Alloway will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Continuing on, Pam Harris, Digger Dog, Noble Patrick, good to see you all. Aloha, Dave. How you doing in Mexico? How's your Lucha Libre mask collection? I want to know that. Let me know. Okay, Susan Cano, how are you? Good to see you. Kurt M., Derek Cook. Wow, Derek Cook is here. Right on. Good to see you, buddy. Gentle Wiscom, welcome. And, yeah. Who else is here? Alien Critter has returned. And who else is here? La, 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 la. Bright is back. I love doing that. I do. How you doing, my dear? I hope you're having a great night, and thank you for that awesome super chat as well. I hope you're doing well. Cannot wait to see you and Bob in Reno. It's going to be awesome. And Gizmo, how are you? Purple-haired Pixie Lara, good to see you. As we continue on, there's my T2E. I love it when you're here. Scrolling on down, who else do we have? Noble Patrick with a nice super chat. Hi, Chris. Let's start the radio side. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Dave Scott here. Science Bob is our guest. We're going to get into a lot of UFOs as we await Bill WD-40 to start lubing us up for tonight's show. We are in roll call right now. Teen, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. And there's Bill WD-40 currently lubing as we speak. Michael Gutierrez, Gloria, how are you? Mama Catherine, thank you for that lovely super chat. I love you, my dear. Thank you. And we got 30 seconds. Can we do this? Let's see if we can. Wildberry. And who else is here? Scrolling on down. Aloha. Thank you. Lacey Blue. Very much appreciate your love and support of SOR. Don't forget our store is open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. And do a little shop in there because it's always a lot of fun. Yeah, we do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag whatsoever. So go check it on out. Do me a favor, throw those horns up. Let's rock. Oh, why didn't my music start? Hold on here. Oh, this is a problem. Oh, no. All right, we're going to have to edit in some music here, so I'm just going to read it. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live at KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of fun for you tonight as we have Science Bob here for another great show. We're going to get into everything UFOs and high strangeness, and of course, it's the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights. Then, in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing joins us for another spooky story. Then, right off the bat, right after that, we have our good friend Courtney Marcassani, who is here for the UFO Report. Dr. Bob McGwier is here tonight. Science Bob, as we call him around these parts. He's a former scientist at Virginia Tech University, and he's also worked for the alphabet agencies, chasing down bad guys all around the world. Yeah, he has his name on over 20 satellites up in space, but it's the UFOs now and the consciousness behind them that really intrigues his scientific mind. Science Bob, always good to have you here, my friend. How you doing?
I think everybody's ready for us to rant a little bit because of all the UFO crap that's happened since last month.
Oh, we're going to get into it for sure.
Oh, no kidding.
We're totally going to get into it. Hey, Bob, for people who might be tuning into you for the first time, how do you go from literally spook agent and scientist developing things for space to get into UFOs?
Well, I determined in 2010, after I did a tour of duty at Oak Ridge National Labs, that I wanted to retire from direct involvement in the national security community as an insider, go to Virginia Tech, where friends of mine and I would start a research institute that would train young minds to go in and work for the Department of Defense, the intelligence community, or the corporations which serve them. And we managed to do it we went from zero to the largest funded research center at Virginia Tech in a decade. But during that tenure, given that I was on the outside, even though I had connectivity to the inside with classified email, classified telephones, and all this other stuff, I began hearing rumors about UFOs and other things. And I had seen a couple of things. So while I was there, I was, after reading everything Richard Dolan had written, listening to Richard Dolan's interviews, listening to Grant Cameron and becoming his friend, and listening to Richard Dolan interview over 4 hours of Christopher Bledsoe, and me living 2 hours from Chris Bledsoe, I asked Chris, could I come over and visit? He waited a while to tell me that I could come over and visit. And because of my time in the intelligence community and his friendship with Jim Semivan, he asked Jim Semivan if he thought it would be okay for me to come over, because Chris's scientist friend Hal Povenmire had died of a tragic accident the previous Thanksgiving. So the January after the Thanksgiving where Hal Povenmire died, Chris invited me over, and Chris and he told me basically every secret he knew for days. And then the last night I was there, we had a clear night. We went outside and observed the sky, and it was beautiful. It was a moonless night. The stars were twinkling, and 40-foot orb popped into the sky over our head and then flew around and did some stuff. And then 30 minutes later, with Ryan Bledsoe standing right next to us, another 40-foot orb popped into the sky overhead. Ryan got it on video through the treetops, and it flew around and went off. And then I saw flash bulbs popping off from the trees. And in my head, I said, not out loud, boy, I wish they would come out of the trees so we could see them. And under a second later, boom, they were up out of the trees and in the sky and flashing in the sky. And then a little while later, after Ryan ran inside to tell everybody that he had seen what we had seen together, I saw this wavy, smoky looking, like the surface of a pond, purple stuff right above the trees. And Chris wasn't looking up. His neck still hurt him a bit with his arthritis. And I was looking up, and it just disappeared. And less than a second after that stuff disappeared, says, okay, they're gone now, and we can go inside because they're gone for the night. So we went inside. We ended our visit, went back, and then went home the next morning. And hitchhiker effect followed me home. Orbs in my home, craft in the sky, triangle of lights in my front yard on my security camera where I got a video of them, and big white orbs in the middle of my living room, blindingly bright. Stood there for a while just stood there and looked at it like I was dumb. And then all sorts of other stuff got going on. Lala Bride offered me a reading of my mother after she passed away. And within a month, my mother was passed and buried. And during my mother's last couple of weeks, she talked to our dead relatives who she said were in the room. So I went back and had a session with Lala, and before it was over, I knew that she was the real deal because she said things only my mother and I could know, kind of thing. So I got proof, and then we began talking more and more about her experiences and my experiences, and it became clear to me after a while that she was in contact with every kind of entity you could possibly imagine. She was having quote dreams, which were actually memory fragments from her times being abducted, visited, contacted, etc. So, and then we moved in together, and we began immediately having all these experiences. Now we're photographing and videoing craft, orbs, and everything else in and out of our home. So it's just turned into my life.
I love it. And I think it's absolutely great.
I'm sorry. One more thing. And for 27 years before I went to Virginia Tech, I served the intelligence community. I did work for NSA and the CIA, and did overseas stuff. And I was on naval ships and submarines, and I led a life before I retired and went to Virginia Tech.
Very interesting. I thought that was part of learning you and who you are, and that was great. We got a lot to cover tonight, Bob, and I want to start off before we get into the heavy detail of this show. Tonight is the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights, March 13th, 1997. For about an hour or two, the skies over Phoenix, Tucson, Mesa, in that entire valley there, lit up like a Christmas tree with strange objects. The United States Air Force and the government have for years denied it, saying that it was everything from flares from A-10 Thunderbolts to jet fighters flying through the sky on a nighttime mission. And yet, before it got dark out there, many people saw these boomerang-type craft flying in the sunset. And eventually they sat over the city. Tens of thousands of people saw this, including actor Kurt Russell, who right now is still the first known person to file a report on this when he was flying his private plane into Phoenix. What's your story on this?
Let me tell you why. And look, all these years later, I'm going to give you evidence. It's still known and relevant. Dr. Lynn Katai, a well-known doctor in the Phoenix area who has made quite a name for herself displaying all the videos and other things she took during the event. I mean, these days we'd have awesome videos of this thing, but she had a gigantic handheld camera and took videos of it and has made her part of her life, telling the story since. And in the last month, Jesse Waters from Fox was with her at an event, and he interviewed her, and she has this picture up on her personal Facebook page of Jesse Waters and her with her arm in arm taking a selfie, because he had been out there to talk to her about this. So this story is still relevant, and I still claim it's just about the most important UFO story in the United States after Roswell. So it's just a big deal. And then the governor of Arizona at the time, who made fun of Symington, who made fun of people with bringing out his chief of staff in costume as an alien, trying to calm down because people were panicking, came out later on James Fox, one of James Fox's documentaries, said that he saw it himself and that it was not possible for it to be anything that the people on the earth could have built, because it was so huge, and it exhibited impossible behavior, flying 10 miles an hour, being half a mile across, a couple hundred feet above the ground. It was just crazy. And so all these people have seen it, and of course they won't give up what they know they saw, no matter how much crap the government throws at them.
It's amazing. And it's one of those stories, and I agree with you that it's exactly like Roswell, where this is our version of it, the Phoenix Lights. And, I remember talking to one former guest who's a paranormal investigator, Big Dave there. He was actually stationed at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and he was in the cafeteria. And immediately, seniority came in, shut all the blinds of the cafeteria, and said, "You guys in here are not allowed to move, not allowed to look out any windows until you get permission." And there was no ETA on that. And they heard the A-10s, squadrons of them taking off, trying to find out what was going on while they were there. I mean, this is one of the biggest or worst kept secrets in United States military history when it comes to UFOs, Bob.
But it's just the constant refrain we've had since the end of World War II. Deny, obfuscate, make fun of, make people feel like they're crazy. And while the people that have seen this stuff are just desperate for answers, and they're getting told, "You're a fool, it was nothing but a balloon."
Yeah, ridiculous. Why haven't here's a good question for you. I'm going to change my question. Bob, as important as the Phoenix Lights is, why hasn't the United States government taken this as seriously as they should be?
I think they have, and they don't know what to do about it. If you could fly a craft that you could put every aircraft carrier in the United States Navy on the top of it and fly them around, you'd probably keep your mouth shut too, to let them know how weak we are in the face of that kind of technology.
Oh, I understand that, but I mean, they've acknowledged other things. They've acknowledged Roswell, okay, that there was nothing there. They've acknowledged the Nimitz incident as something there. Yet when it comes to the Phoenix Lights, it seems to be like the forgotten stepchild.
Well, they say, yeah, there was something there. It was flares. But look, they called up and staged the flares after the incident was over, because the incident happened in the afternoon and twilight, and the flares were flown over the mountain in the evening when it was dark. And nobody was fooled by those flares. No one.
Have you ever talked to any governmental side or agency witnesses or people in the know about this topic that you
I
can?
have not about Phoenix. Nothing. I've never talked to a single person in government who knew a thing about Phoenix.
But even in today's conversations, Bob, we don't seem to have that conversation about Phoenix.
Well,
and to me,
the thing is has me angry is Aaro was ordered by the Congress of the United States, signed into law by the president, to tell us all that history, and they have not done it. They didn't even, in the part one of this report, they didn't even bring up the things they have admitted. They didn't bring up the Nimitz, the Teddy Roosevelt, Go Fast, and Gimbal. They didn't bring up the spheres. They haven't talked about anything they already admitted in public in part one of the report. And they acted like and the statements, the report is awful, Dave.
I know.
Obvious lies in it.
I know, and we're going to get into the report from Aaro and Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick in the next half hour, because I know you need a lot of time to explode over that, and your wick is already lit on this.
Oh, I'm lit.
But let's get back to Phoenix. I mean, you brought up the fact of Fife Symington making a fool out of his citizens. I still think, even though he was involved in some other shady type of businesses and dealings while he was governor of the state, I still believe that the citizens of Arizona never forgot the fact on how he mocked and chastised them about the UFO.
Never forgot, never forgave him.
No. And you know what? It says a lot, in my opinion, Bob. It says a lot about when bad things happen or strange, scary things happen, we look to governmental leadership to give us answers and to help us.
Don't you think that's their job in a democracy?
You would think, right? And
that's
yet it wasn't
in a democracy.
Now, my question to you is, do you think, and this is a question I've never heard Fife Symington been asked out of all the questions, and I've actually reached out to him a few times to try and get him on this show, but he never seems to respond. I don't think he wants to talk about this subject. Do you think that when that went on, that there was pressure on him from the U.S. government and the military to downplay the event and to shut it down as quickly as possible?
Given his actions, I believe he was told by people inside the military and in the government that he needed to tamp down on the insanity before he lost control and people out there panicked and went crazy. And he was reminded of Orson Welles and War of the Worlds, that it was about to happen in Phoenix. And so he rushed something into place to try to tamp down and cool off the coverage and the ranting and raving. And he just made fun of people, and it worked. I think the bad message from Phoenix is 5 to whatever he was responding to, given he saw it himself. It showed everyone that you could do this craziness and people would calm down and be quiet.
Is that something, for people who do not understand, is that something that would be almost protocol in United States defense?
I think by now, given if there's anything you can believe that Rick Doty says, it has been the policy to belittle all things UFO since the end of World War II. And they have a policy, and the policy is deny, 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 make foolish, turn it into a conspiracy theory, and so forth and so on. And the CIA crafted a policy and implementation details on how to turn things into conspiracy theories and belittle them. And they had this well-known operation for buying important people in every newsroom in the United States of America of any import.
On a scale of 1 to 10, as we got about 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, Bob, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important in the UFO world is the Phoenix Lights incident?
Oh, I would say it's a 10.
Define that.
Okay, so there were thousands of eyewitnesses, and they all tell the same basic story. So if you just take all the stories and you average over them, you get the same story, with minor variations given the discrepancies that are often present in eyewitness testimony. But the overall average is you had a gigantic boomerang-shaped thing with big lights on it that was wide enough to put the entire U.S. naval carrier fleet on top of the thing. And it flew at an impossibly slow miles per hour through the sky for hours through the state of Arizona.
And there's no way that craft could have been ours.
None, because it was too big, Dave. And you can't hold something up and fly it the way it flew by any known physics known to humanity, except maybe by the government.
I mean, the craft was said to be almost 2 miles in diameter.
And you could put the entirety of the U.S. Navy on top of it.
A lot of times, as we got about 90 seconds to go here, Bob, a lot of times when we have things happen, there's always that Chief Wiggum from The Simpsons moment where it's nothing to see here. There's nothing to go on here. Has this been a case, in your opinion, that was swept under the rug as quickly as it could have been because of the dangers of not only people talking UFOs, but disclosure and everything along those lines?
Especially since they did not want the legacy program exposed. And that was a major incident that could have brought it all out. I'm sure there was a fight inside the government over what to do about it. I'm sure of that.
What would be, this is going to be a long question, I know, but I'm going to ask it anyways, as we got about 30 seconds. What would be protocol on that? How would that be handled?
So the National Security Council would call together all the relevant heads of everything, and they would decide on what to disclose immediately.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. But in a case like this, they have to shut it down ASAP.
They did shut it down. We know they had to, because they did, and I think it was on the orders of the president.
That would have been
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton. All right. Science Bob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Science Bob and Friends continues on Spaced Out Radio when we return on the mighty SOR. Stay tuned. All right, we are clear. I somehow accidentally erased a file that literally eliminated all of my music.
Oh no, Dave.
Yeah.
Wait. You can do undelete. Be careful because you can do undelete.
Oh, I deleted it from the recycling bin.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. So
No.
now,
It's still there, Dave. It's
where do I
still
find it?
there.
Where do I find it?
Get an undelete program and you can find it.
Undelete
program for Windows.
So a recovery program for Windows?
Undelete. You want specifically to recover deleted files. Say recover deleted files Windows.
Recover deleted files.
And you will find a bunch of programs. Get the highest rated one that you want to pay money for.
That's all I need is to pay again. Oh,
you shouldn't have deleted it. What can I tell you?
I know that's my fault, you bobo. Let's see.
I'm going to rub it in.
Yeah, you probably should. Microsoft support, recover lost or deleted files.
Well, you don't want to pay them. You want to get a program.
PC Mag, how to recover deleted files. C Cleaner, recover deleted files free.
There you go. So typically what they will do is you can download the program, you can run it free. It'll tell you all the programs it can undelete as soon as you pay them $20.
Well, that's fine. I don't mind doing that.
But it'll find them. It is still there. And if you're careful and get it done quickly, it'll recover them because the file has not been written over and the traces of it are still there.
How to easily recover delete lost files on PC in seconds. Minitool.com.
Yep.
That's a free download.
Go for it. Especially if you recognize the thing in the deleted files.
Right. I will. Hi, IXOXI. How you doing? And who else is here?
Yeah, let me entertain them while you're doing that.
Oh, I got it here. I got to say hi to everybody anyways. Let's see. Rikuva. Mac Geek is saying Rikuva is the one to do it. I guess I've downloaded this other one. Did I download it? I don't think so. Well, it says I downloaded it, but I'm not seeing any icons on my desk.
Well, it won't be in desktop. It'll be in the directory downloads.
Okay. Mini tool. No results. I guess I didn't download it. So go to Rikuva. That's a good one. Everybody's
that is definitely a good one.
Cleaner, Rikuva. All right. Rikuva. All right.
You can tell that slang for recover. Rikuva.
I guess I get the pro version because that's the one that's going to work, right? Holy shit. 44.75 Canadian. Oh, I hate
Well, why don't you try the not pro version to see what it'll do? Because typically what they will do is they will list the files they found.
All right. I will try the free version here. Okay, let's go back. Download free version. Rikuva free. Let's try that out. It's only going to give me advanced file recovery. Let's try it. I'm cheap when it comes to these programs, man. Hi, Betty Oliver. Welcome to SOR chat.
When you need them, you need them.
Yeah, hi, CS. Hi, Rayfin. Bobbert, good to see you. River Dog, thanks for coming on in.
I mean, this thing can recover files that you formatted the drive. They're still there, Dave. And it will recover them. You can get professional for $24.95.
That's American.
I see.
All right, I'm installing it right now. Run Rikuva. All right, thank you, Science Bob, Lala, Patrick, Catherine, Dave, T-Bone, and W. Decker for the great super chats. Much appreciate the love. Very much appreciate the love. Here we go, everybody. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, Science Bob, here we go. We're going to get into what you feel is an absolute travesty of mismanagement about UFOs. It comes from Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick in his final report as head of the Aaro program, even though Kirkpatrick stepped down in December as his final days was right in the end of the last year. Your thoughts on what's going on here, Bob?
I'm amazed. So he's still advising Aaro. They're trying to keep him in there to keep all of them tame, because I'm sure that about half the staff in Aaro is in rebellion. But Kirkpatrick has quit. He's going to work for Battelle and Oak Ridge National Laboratories. That means he's not a government employee. His doing this unpaid advisory thing for the United States government, Department of Defense, Aaro department, is illegal under federal law. That's not allowed. Furthermore, since he's no longer working in that office, he has no need to know what is in that office. That's a violation of federal law. The law that the Congress passed said that they were to produce a history. What was that? They were to produce you got some visitors. So they produced a history. They produced no history. They produced a stream of crap, and lots of it was not historic. They didn't even get Harry Reid's state right in the document. They said he was from New Mexico and not Nevada. One of the references, number 3, is from the Fandom Wiki site. That's a reference in a technical report to Congress? Give me a break. And then the claims are no one has come in and told them anything about non-human intelligence extraterrestrials. They keep saying no evidence of extraterrestrial this and that, and no one's claiming extraterrestrial anything. They're claiming something real is here and we don't know what it is, and we, humanity, didn't invent it. Okay, so they keep playing this silly word game that is completely transparent. Okay, so, and then of course, the day it comes out, within 24 hours, the storm starts. If anybody want to see the storm, I'll tell you a couple of places to go. The Good Trouble Show by Matt Ford. See everything he's done since that report came out. And just before it, you can see how the secrets are being kept from the general public by his exposure with Rob Heavily of the horrible hacking group that's working on people's Wikipedia pages. I mean, Gary Nolan and Hal Puthoff, for example, can't edit their own page. They have been prohibited and banned from editing in Wikipedia their own pages. I mean, it's just outrageous. And so this kind of paid obfuscation stuff continues just like it did right after Roswell for decades. So it's just continuation. So, and then Jeremy and George Knapp, they are really torching it right now, going out and talking to all sorts of things. Follow Ross Coulthart, because he continues to be talking to people on the inside. James Fox, Lou Elizondo, and a bunch of others. They went to Washington, D.C. area and had a meeting, looks like with probably congressional staffers, congressional people, but they definitely met whistleblowers with firsthand knowledge, because all of them are leaving there saying so. And it feels to me like these firsthand whistleblowers are going to go, screw it, we're talking.
Well, what surprised me about it was the cheap shots in it.
Oh,
It was filled with ad hominem attacks, even though names were not named, but ad hominem attacks on whistleblowers, ad hominem attacks on Luis Elizondo, and
shot
people,
after cheap shot after cheap shot.
I thought that was highly unprofessional, Bob.
Very unprofessional. And look, the law set up Aaro to be owned by the Department of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence Office. The Director of and when you do one of these documents, every stakeholder in the group that produces the document is supposed to be handed a copy of it to edit and put their chop on it. The Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, was not given a preview of it before they sent it out. That is a violation of every principle of operation I ever saw inside the United States government, and speaks to me of the utter desperation the people in the CIA and the Department of Defense have in wanting to keep all this under wraps. And all they did was absolutely secure permanently that this war will not be over until exposure happens. And it sounds to me like there are a couple of foreign governments which are about to step up and release stuff, like Japan and others.
Yes, I agree with you on that. But I mean, I'm not very familiar with how American politics works or reports like this work. I mean, are they usually this nippy at people?
No. Look, the executive branch has a lot of departments in it. And so Aaro will have a lot of stakeholders in it. Every place inside the government that even put a period inside anything they're going to include in that report, they get a say-so over what's in it, because they are to ensure that Aaro faithfully reproduces what they were told by all the entities involved. It goes all over the government. And the government has offices that deal with this, and they go up and down their chain of command in all these different departments to get approvals for all. And you'll get this massively red line document where every comment is listed, and the entire metadata will be longer than the report by the time all the edits come back. That's the way it's done. And they did not follow that at all. It was done inside by people telling Kirkpatrick what to do without any of the normal procedures.
Okay. Why wouldn't they give the normal procedures? What makes this so different?
Cover up. They want the cover up. They thought this document could kill the talk about it. And they brought in only their own media. And you know it was the Department of Defense, because Susan Goff arranged this. She brought in controlled media. These are defense, national security reporters who are fed crap by the insiders to build their news reports out of. And so only the favored few that they knew they could control were allowed in. None of the other media were allowed in. It was a closed session for approved media. And they were given multiple hours time to write their reports. And all of them were essentially told, and every one of them did, that there are no aliens, there are no UFOs, there are no crash recoveries, there's none of this in their reports, because that's what the Department of Defense, through Susan Goff, told them they had to say.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. But technically speaking, that's an easy way to get around the story, because if the U.S. government is not in possession of NHI or any UFO craft for crash retrievals, then there isn't any evidence, Bob, that they actually have it.
Okay, but you and I and many others know that when it looked like the stuff was going to be shown, they moved it all into private hands to protect it from FOIA. They tried to protect it from FOIA disclosure, and they did it by transferring the stuff to corporations. And then private security, etc., took over the control and management of this work. And these non-disclosure agreements, dude, they are horrible. You give up every one of your rights as a citizen by signing one of these NDAs. You're not given due process. You're not given the right to speech. You're not given the right to defend yourself. And they can throw you straight into jail without due process in these damn NDAs. And that's why people are afraid. And Dave, how many dozens of times have you heard stories and seen at least scant evidence enough to at least think about people got killed to keep these secrets?
Yeah.
And they signed an NDA that said they could be killed. If you read all through all of the implications of what they gave up to work on the program, they gave up their lives.
Here's my thinking of it, Bob, and maybe I'm thinking of this way too simplistically. The testimony that was given by whistleblowers and by other eyewitnesses who have seen things, and the reports that were given in congressional hearings, most of which, 99% of which, was put in skiffs behind the scenes. We still have politicians who haven't reacted to this Aaro program. Okay,
I want you to understand. It's the pressure campaign put on these politicians by the military-industrial complex. By what do I mean? If suddenly a congressman is faced with losing 5,000 jobs in their district, they're going to be tame. They're going to be tame, Dave, because they will lose all these jobs in the district, and it will be known by everyone in that district, to one extent or another, that their mouth got those jobs removed from their district.
No, I get that. I understand that, but should we be surprised that Tim Burchett or Anna Luna and others who've been highly supportive of congressional hearings on this have basically been told to shut the hell up?
They are brave and they are determined. Look, they came into government hating government. They have hated government since before they came in it. They're nearly so far on the right that they're libertarians. And they hate government, and they hate secrecy. They hate people being lied to. And it's almost left and right up here meeting in the middle. I would write a constitutional amendment that forbade anybody associated with the government from lying to the American people. I would forbid it and put them in prison if they ever lied. I'm sick of these lies being told to the American public by people whose salary we pay.
Oh, I get that, Bob. I get that very much so. But
I'm sorry. One more thing.
Sure.
And the president of the United States can write an executive order, and everyone in the executive branch has to obey that order until such time as the order is overturned or Congress passes a law overturning it that a president signs. Ronald Reagan signed Executive Order 12333. Executive Order 12333 says nobody in the government can tell a bunch of lies and conduct operations to fool the American people. And how many times do you know that's been done? And nobody's being prosecuted, even though Reagan signed the executive order. So they just continue to do it ad infinitum, ad nauseum. So it's already illegal. They're just not enforcing it.
If all of these people talked to Sean Kirkpatrick about evidence and tried to get information to him, do you think that he was specifically covering up evidence or did not return phone calls or emails because he already had his mind made up on this subject?
He had a group of outside advisors whose names he would not present, and they were gatekeepers for the legacy program, and their job was to tell him what he could do. And the people inside the office and those who came in to talk to him were wasting their time. And we know this because Danny Sheehan signed a non-disclosure agreement when he went in and talked to Kirkpatrick. And he told him of direct evidence that we have a crash retrieval program. He told him exactly where to go and find it. File numbers, everything. He had every bit of it down pat. He told him the name of a corroborating witness in the Library of Congress who opened up the files for him to see. And I happen to know Marcia Smith. I visited her with Jeff Perry when he came over from England to be run around the U.S. government. I was his host because he discovered the Plesetsk launch site before the intelligence community did. And they all wanted to pat him on the back and tell him what a great person he was. I met her. I know her. She's a faithful servant, and she's still working, and she can corroborate Danny Sheehan's story. Not only that, Sheehan told all of us that at the same time he saw the classified Blue Book files, which included pictures of a crash retrieval of a 40-foot saucer being picked up by the military, that S4 was there. And that was years before Bob Lazar came out, because Danny Sheehan learned all that at the request and demand of President Jimmy Carter right before he took office. Danny Sheehan has known about S4 and the recovery program since 1970s, when 1976, when Jimmy Carter was elected.
Okay, so for people who may not understand what it is, Bob, what is the legacy program?
The legacy program is, at the end of World War II, we began having the Cold War with the Soviet Union. And Harry Truman decided to organize the government for what would clearly be a long-term collection of things that needed to be done to stop, because the Soviet Union was rolling over Eastern Europe. And it looked like they were going to roll over all of Europe. So Harry Truman organized the federal government, national security state, working with corporations to give us what we needed. And he put in a permanent military industrial complex under the National Security Act when he was president. And during that time, they brought the Roswell crash story and others, the UFO from Milan and others that we recovered, into the military industrial complex and inside the national security state, and covered it up. And we now are learning that Robert Oppenheimer and a bunch of others in the Atomic Energy Commission that set up the Manhattan Project also set up the UFO legacy program, and it has existed since the end of World War II. Lewis Strauss was involved in the setup with all the people that were in and around Oppenheimer. We even know now from multiple sources that Albert Einstein went and visited this stuff and saw it. And Werner von Braun knew about it from the beginning when he was brought over under paperclip. It's been around since Truman. Truman set it up, and they've never let it get brought in under the normal governance. And so now this almost like a separate government.
Okay, so who is currently, or do we know who is on this UFO legacy program making these decisions?
No, it's we know that it's splintered and spread all over government to try to obfuscate that it's actually one program. We don't know who is atop of this pyramid. We know there is a pyramid, and it's the base of it is spread all over government to keep it separate and covered up for keep need to know silos. And whoever is up here on top of this, we don't know who they are. Somebody does, but I don't know anybody inside of government that knows who it is. Maybe the president does, but I doubt it. I think the president knows about the program, but doesn't know who's on top of it.
Is this the how can I put it? I remember you gave a term for this a long time ago when you met me. Not the Electoral College, the
the Invisible College.
Invisible College, thank you.
The Invisible College was well-known, well-heeled, well-versed insiders in government or on the edge of it that wanted to know about all this, but were never allowed in. That would be Puthoff and Rick Doty and a bunch of Colonel Alexander. Those kinds of people were in the Jack Valet. They were in the Invisible College, but they were, to my knowledge, never allowed in on the inside.
With 2 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour, Science Bob is here for Science Bob and Friends. We're looking at the Aaro report. Was there anything else that caught your eye that really stood out to you on this report?
Well, what's not in it?
Carry it over we can.
What's not in it? I'll give you one example. Jim Lukatsky ran the UFO stuff for the Defense Intelligence Agency, and he told us that he had access to a craft that they got inside of, and that was approved for him to transmit to the public under the DOPSR process by the Department of Defense. So we have now a former scientist, officer, contract officer in the Defense Intelligence Agency who has been allowed to tell the public, we have a craft that's 40 foot in diameter that we have gotten inside of. And that's where he had to stop. He and Colin Kelleher both knew about it.
So would Kirkpatrick be higher up in ranking than Lukatsky?
No. I don't think
so. Why blow it off?
Because he's been ordered to blow it off. His job was obfuscation. He in the testimony before the Armed Services Subcommittee, chaired by Senator Gillibrand and Senator Ernst, sitting there talking to him, one time after another, he told them lies that they had to have known were lies, and they never called him out on it. I don't know what went on there, but they just, for whatever reason, have not called him out on his lies.
Well, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah. It really is. And I'm telling you, when I saw all of that, this is my personal private confession. When I saw all of that crap going on, a friend of mine was asked to be his replacement. I got in my car, drove to my friend's house, didn't say anything to anybody, showed up on his doorstep, and he let me in. And I did everything I could to talk him out of taking that job, and he did not take it.
Science Bob and Friends continues in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned. We will be right back. All right, Bob, we are clear.
That was a powerful half hour.
Well, we're going to continue on that when we return. I'm going to, oh, by the way, the sea cleaner Rikuva did not work.
Okay. You could not see it.
Could not see the file. I think what happened was I was getting an error last night in editing, so I had to clear out a bunch of files after the show, and I accidentally cleared all of my music. And then I had to do an update on my Windows last night.
You wrote over it. When you did that update, you wrote over it.
Yeah. So you know what? I've been wanting to change, not the theme song, but I've been wanting to change a lot of the commercial music for a long time. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I guess I got my hands full tomorrow. Yes, I do. So would system restore work?
No.
No.
Oh,
All right.
no, it will restore the system files. It will not restore deleted data.
Yeah. All right, Bob, I'm going to take a quick break. Do you want to go into the green room or do you want to hang out with the audience?
No, you can put me in the green room.
All right. We'll be right back, everybody. All right. All right, Bob, I'm bringing you back. All right. great show so far.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so.
Hi, yes, no, maybe. How are you?
There's
Skip
a bunch of folks in chat want us to ask questions. I told them we would in the last half hour at least.
Yeah. Yeah. We're always allowed to ask questions. The questions don't come until hour 2, everybody. I will get your questions in. Make sure you put them in capital letters. Yeah.
I love the post and chat feature in StreamYard.
It's beautiful.
It's fantastic integration.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. I just hope they don't go Microsoft and fix things that don't need to be fixed. You know?
Well, I mean, so StreamYard works in Linux because that's what I'm in now. So they're not going to go Microsoft. You mean add so many complicating features they can't keep it functional?
Absolutely. Brandon, Dave, are you baked? No, I'm exhausted. I was at the gym earlier today and just pushed myself. And Kira, I'm down about 3.5 inches on my stomach already. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. And thank you to Science Bob, Lala, Patrick, Mama Catherine, Dave, T-Bone ×2, and W. Decker for the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. And here we go, everybody, with the second hour. Hello and welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Razzmatazz. Razzmatazz is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go again with our good friend, Dr. Bob McGwier. We call him Science Bob around here. And we're talking about the latest report from Aaro. Yeah, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick is not going to get a Christmas card from Science Bob later this year. That is for sure. Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm glad we're having this show because I need to get some steam off.
Yeah, I'm glad you're getting that steam off as well. There are a lot of people within the military, within the government, at the Pentagon, and many others who are extremely disappointed in the way this has taken a turn. Now, I have always said that I've never expected disclosure. I've always expected confirmation. And I don't know why we are surprised, Bob, that a report like this actually came out to the negative connotation that it was for UFOs.
There's no confirmation in it. So if you want confirmation, you didn't get it in this document.
What do you think? Okay, I realize he had handlers, but what do you think was Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick's real thought on UFOs? Because he did late or early last year write an article with Avi Loeb from Harvard University on UFOs.
He's mad about it. He's mad about because that did not go through DOPSR approval. Avi put it out there without it being approved by the Pentagon. So I don't know if he will even take ownership in it. It did not go past his minders. They have to be upset.
Okay, so looking at that part, do you think Kirkpatrick is a believer in the UFO phenomena, that it is happening? Or do you think that he's just playing the government game to hide it? Or do you think that he truly is a non-believer?
There is no way he listened to the stories told him with the accompanying evidence, given the people who came to talk to him, that he cannot believe some of this is real. That, and he had complete access to the archives of videos and photos taken by people in the armed services for decades. He knows this stuff is real. He knows it is. He knows the capabilities of, for example, the MQ-9 Reaper, the drone, the multi-million-dollar drone that took pictures of the spheres over Mosul and elsewhere. So, I mean, this MQ-9 Reaper, it's incredible. And he knows that stuff is real. That's number one. Number two, he knows the stuff that happened over the Princeton and whatever in 2019 off the California coast. He knows those things are real and that there was a swarm of those things and there was no Chinese vessel anywhere near them, because I assure you, Dave, if a Chinese vessel got near enough to them to release a drone, the Chinese vessel would have been sent to the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. We would have taken kinetic action.
So how does the UFO world recover from this? Because to me, I think this started last year when the United States Navy said they were no longer going to be talking anything about UFOs. They were not going to confirm any videos. They were not going to talk about it anymore. They were going to go to the way of the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, the Coast Guard, and Space Force, and just zip it shut. And
that came from on high, and Susan Goff was put in charge.
Okay. I know who Susan Goff is. Many of our audience members may not. Who is she?
She's the Public Affairs Office for the Department of Defense. She works for the Secretary of Defense in his office. And so she's like the chief spokesperson for the Pentagon, where she puts out official statements. And she approves of everything these briefers come out and say every day. And her graduate degree was in disinformation operations. She's a trained expert.
So she's a trained expert to basically keep the status quo and the public in the unknown.
Yes, and I've been told by many people that no matter how much Biden loves him, no matter how good he is for the Department of Defense, our Secretary of Defense does not want disclosure. He is adamantly opposed to it because they're all afraid that when the stuff comes out that the military did in the 1940s and 50s to keep these secrets, it will cost the Department of Defense a lot. People still are shivering in their boots about the Church Committee and the damage it did to the CIA after the Richard Nixon administration.
For the public who may be asking questions listening to this, Bob, like, why can't we know? What is the big deal? What do you think the big deal is?
Okay, let's just suppose that some portion of the things we've been told about these UFOs and these non-human intelligences are real. For example, the ability to travel large distances nearly instantaneously, much faster than the speed of light. That's number one. And number two, that the reactors producing the energy on there are tapping the built-in energy in the universe. Both of those would completely and utterly and totally and absolutely disrupt the economy of the world, displace millions of people from their jobs, and the day after Moscow gets one of those craft, it can zip over here in a millisecond, drop a nuclear weapon on Washington, and zip off before we ever detected they were there. So there's multiple reasons they don't want this to get out. There are multiple reasons, and they've committed crimes keeping it a secret. They don't want Moscow able to bomb us and run. They don't want their billionaire pockets and friends to be disinherited. And we rule the world's economy with petrodollars. What will petrodollars matter when petro is no longer needed because we've replaced it with 0 point energy?
I get that. I totally get that. I mean, it's going to affect everything on the planet if by chance 0 point energy or anti-gravity or anything along those lines actually comes to fruition under our current physics.
I suppose there's some portion of the secrets that you hear leaked out are true, and we were invented by a non-human intelligence. That just what religion is going to be happy with that?
I get your point there. Point well taken. Okay. The idea, though, that the government is literally shooting down its own people. Okay, David Grush, the 40 other whistleblowers, people like Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, and many others that are going through that. James Lukatsky, another one, and many others in the legacy program who want this to go through. Are they just collateral damage to the bigger story?
Yeah, the story has to be kept covered. And if they stick out and try to puncture the wall, the dam that's holding the information back, they're going to fall. They're going to put them in their place. But notice Lukatsky and everybody else that comes out is almost all at the end of their career and are insulated because they've already cashed out.
And what do you mean by cashed out?
They've got their pension. No matter how long Grush is telling this story, he will still get his retirement benefits from being in the military for 15 years or 20 or whatever it was.
Is this a fight that can be won?
Yeah, I believe there is true anger in Congress at being lied to, because it is their job to provide oversight on behalf of the American people, and they're being denied this oversight.
How does Americans, and the world for that matter, find out the truth about UFOs if the continual denial by the military-industrial complex will never allow it?
The UAP Disclosure Act, in some form that was closer to what it was before it got gutted, needs to pass. And I don't. There are a lot of people that really were opposed to the UAPDA, even in ufology. But I don't see how we get what we're after if we, the government, we, the people, through our government, don't determine that they get ownership so they can look at the stuff and tell the people. But they have to. They have to be forced to tell the people the truth in some manner. Some stuff probably should be classified. We don't want our peer adversaries being advantaged in any way. But some portion of the truth, which is now just stonewalled, can certainly be told. And the only way that can seem to be reasonably happen to me is it be brought back into government and put under the control of a body that protects the institutions of government that need protecting and tells people nothing but pieces of truth. Cannot be lied to. We have utterly destroyed the confidence in government by constantly lying to the people. And ufology is just one of those things. There are many other things where we've just been constantly lied to. I mean, just let me string you through one collection of history. Harry Truman sets up the national security state. Dwight Eisenhower inherits the national security state. He believes that the military-industrial complex is probably a thing to be feared and tells all of us we should fear them at the end of his presidency. John F. Kennedy comes into office. We almost go to nuclear war with Russia. John F. Kennedy offers Khrushchev shared activity in a space program where we and the Russians go to the moon, and did offers to tell him about what we know about UFOs. We have the documents that we know that to be true. I do not believe that a screwed up, crazy Marine with a bolt action rifle from a long way away in that book repository was the culprit in Dealey Square in Dallas, Texas. I just don't believe it. And so all of this stuff is being covered up, and they're scared to death it will come out.
Okay, so are you saying that it's not just about UFOs? It's about
it's much more
every
than that.
potential conspiracy theory that the U.S. government has allegedly been hiding for years.
Yes, it's all intertwined. And there's a select bunch of folks that have made all these decisions, and now there's just no way to disentangle it. And presidents are culpable because they didn't force it open to the American people, probably for fear of being done in, politically or really.
What was positive about this report?
That it has united the opposition, and it has firmed up people's absolute convictions that this story has to come out or we will lose the ability. And that if we do not acknowledge that we have a bunch of money and a bunch of people who are not answerable to government and deal with it now, we don't deserve the democratic republic we have been given in our Constitution. It is time to stop this deception and lying to the American people, and because we are so powerful, the rest of the world.
Okay, I want to ask you this because I asked Courtney Marcassani this a couple nights ago on the UFO report, Bob. And that is, we see so many people out there, the critics of the UFO world, whether it's Stephen Greenstreet, whether it's John Greenwald at times, and Keith Kluwer and other journalists who've really been anti-UFO this entire time, believing, going as far as calling it a cult. Ufology is a cult. And
But that's partially true. And to the extent it's partially true, it's easy to tar all of us with that brush.
okay, but the question is, why do you think they are so quick to take the side of the U.S. government that nothing is real when it comes to UFOs or non-human intelligence, and yet they are so quick to hammer on any type of eyewitness or whistleblower or people who actually worked in those programs?
I am not even going to try to get into Stephen Greenstreet's mind. I don't know what is behind it, but I can tell you he is adamantly to the point of utter and total deception to put out a negative story. What he did to Brandon Fugel and the folks out at Skinwalker Ranch was just horrible, horrible. So I don't know what his motivations are, and I don't care. I just know that he won't accept any kind of evidence, no matter how strong it is. No matter how strong. I can't tell you what. So John Greenwald is not anti-UFO. He is not. But what he is he's tired of what he sees as grandstanding rather than showing actual evidence. And so he was strongly believing that through FOIA and other things, we need to have a concerted campaign to get access to actual government documents and witnesses and so forth before we can believe in it, because there are too many conflated motives in the people who are telling these stories in ufology. And there's lots of them, Dave. You've gone to conventions. You know that there are people that are there who are complete fakes and are only there trying to fool people so they can make money. But they are accompanied by people who are absolutely, genuinely interested in this subject and who wouldn't lie even if they could. So we are a grab bag of competing passions and competing motives. And so there's a lot of people that don't want anything to do with all that. They'd rather go where it's tamer. So I just think John wants official disclosure and won't be happy with anything else. And so he's constantly working at it. And he thinks that he and others that are trying to do this kind of constant concerted effort to get disclosure by the government get in the way with all of their stories. And he's really unhappy with the whistleblowers and leakers that go through because I mean, you can just see this in his actions and words about Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. He is adamantly opposed to them saying stuff without showing the evidence. And of course, they've made agreements not to show stuff to be able to tell the story, as has Ross Coulthart. I mean, Coulthart is now saying that the single worst mistake he's made since he's got into this field was to tell people what he knew about the saucer that's so large it was covered with a building. That he's gotten death threats. And he feels it's the worst mistake he's made, but now it's too late to put that toothpaste back in the tube. And so there are people on the outside, even with good motives, who've done good work, who regret some of the things they've said. It's just an awful situation, Dave, because we have powerful people who are in the way of truth.
I believe that. But with 2.5 minutes to go here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour, Bob, I just find it very interesting that, if I put my journalistic hat on here, our job as journalists is to find information on both sides of the story, not try to roast one because you don't believe. And I just see too much of that.
I see that too. And but there's no police force in ufology, so we're stuck with it until the end.
Who do we believe then? How do we believe?
We each of us individually, since we don't have anybody tell us who's a truth teller or not, have to exercise our personal judgment.
But
I just exercise personal judgment.
But isn't this a game that really started way back with the TTSA and the BS that they were pulling right off the bat with controlling who talked to the media and what outlets? They weren't going to certain people, but they would go to, like they would never come on this show with our big audience, but they would go on a YouTube channel with 540 subscribers and blow that channel up. I mean, we saw a lot of games since the TTSA came in, and I'm not putting a lot of stress on Tom DeLonge or his failed venture, but I am saying that it was really a start of the covert BS that we're seeing today.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think Tom and Jim Semivan and others feel like it didn't go the way they wanted it to go, but they were told to start this, encouraged to start it, when everybody involved thought Hillary Clinton was going to be the disclosure president, and she didn't get elected. So all of those plans that brought TTSA into existence fell apart when she did not become president. Because it is clear to me that was the plan of the insiders, was for Hillary to be the disclosure president, and she did not get elected.
I hear you there. Science Bob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because when we return on Spaced Out Radio, we are going to take audience questions. And I know there's a lot of them out there that people want to hear from you and get your opinion on. So hold on tight. This is Spaced Out Radio. We will be right back. All right, Bob, we're clear.
All right, good.
Everybody, let's send a lot of love and healing prayers to our favorite human Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force, who is going to go for vascular surgery on his legs tomorrow at the VA Medical Center in Phoenix. Human Carl, we love you. We're going to send you all the best so that way you get in and out and you're back here in no time, my man. And you're one of the longtime great supporters of Spaced Out Radio, and you mean a lot to us. And we're going to send you all that love and prayer that you're going to need to lift up your spirits, my man. Remember to be specific. Human Carl. Human Carl. Not alien Carl. Human Carl. And if you're still listening, Human Carl, make sure you read the comments in the chat room right now, because it's all about love for you, my man. All about love for you. Even Bill WD-40 is going to lube up the surgery room for you tomorrow, so the surgery goes nice and smooth. Because you don't want to have a rough surgery, Human Carl. You don't want a rigid surgery. So Bill WD-40, he is going to lube it on up for you, so that way the operating room is nice and smooth for you. Hi, Kaysen. Good to see you, my man. Yeah, we love our Human Carl. You got better, buddy, because you got to join us in Reno in 2 months. You have no choice, Human Carl. No choice. Yeah, Bill WD-40 has officially confirmed that he is lubing up the operating room right now. He is currently lubing it up. Underscore Maddie, how you doing, buddy? Good vibes for Human Carl, that's right. You're looking a little bit Nirvana-ish with that new hairdo there, Maddie. I like it. I like it. That's very metal hair. Very metal hair. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. And Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got Human Carl's. Yeah, you do. Science Bob, I can hear you tinkering around over there. Just so you know, Jeff Steve Garvey, he's going to hit a home run for you. He says you're his man crush.
I see Jeff Garvey. Hey, Jeff, I see you in chat.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Brandon Coast from Powell River, you should reach out to Merle, because I think they're going to be doing a charity event at the Powell River Museum for a ghost hunt there. So you might want to reach out to the museum and see, or to Merle to see when they're going to be coming on in. Nina Williams, how are you? If you're listening in on X, if you're one of the 73 people listening in, do us a favor. If you're not following us on Twitter, give us a follow. We're literally 6 people away, or 4 people away from 10,000. 4 people away from 10,000. I would love to hit 10,000 tonight. If you don't mind, just go hit that follow.
Come on, help Dave catch up with me.
Exactly. And if you are on YouTube watching, one of the 220 people watching on YouTube right now, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. We'd greatly appreciate it. Want to say a big thank you to Bob, Lala, Patrick, Mama Catherine, Dave, T-Bone ×2, W. Decker, Human Carl, and Maddie for the super chats. Greatly appreciate you doing that for us. It's a great way to support what we do. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. And if you're planning on going to Reno for our 3rd annual SOR fan party, but you're still on the fence, I need to know VIPs by April 10th, because I got to get the shirts made up and I got to put the order in, because there's going to be really cool t-shirts there for you. Okay, so I got to know. If you're coming, let me know. Go to info@spacedoutradio.com, info@spacedoutradio.com, where you can reserve your VIP tickets, and that way we can make sure that you get a shirt in your swag bag for you. Okay, so make sure you do. And trust me, it will not be ugly, people. I don't do ugly shirts. Don't do them. Here we go, everybody, with the next half hour. Hello and welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Second half of the show now underway. Good to have you with us. Want to remind each and every one of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Dr. Bob McGwier, a.k.a. Science Bob, is here. He will be in Reno for our 3rd annual SOR fan party as well. And we're looking forward to you being there, Science Bob, by the way.
I'm looking forward to being there.
You're that kind of guy. Look at that energy, people. Just listen to that energy of Science Bob wanting to party with you all night long, unless it's past 11:30.
Remind me to order my airplane tickets tomorrow before I get out of the range of having cheap ones.
There you go. There you go. It's at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort, May 10th through 12th. And Science Bob and many other people who are special guests on this show will be there to entertain you guys for all the UFO, paranormal, encrypted talk. It's going to be a great weekend. All right, Science Bob, we're going to get some audience questions here.
Let's do it.
Let's start off with Eli. What are your thoughts on the initiative for the Select Committee if the Speaker approves it? Does that give the Congress people and staffers the need to know?
It does indeed. If they are put on a Select Committee, it depends on their marching orders from the Speaker of the House, but for whatever marching orders he gives them, it gives them need to know. The staffers have to be cleared by the intelligence community. That's one of the ways they get control. But the Congress people are cleared by being elected by the American people.
Okay, let's move over to Jules. Are executive orders unconstitutional, Bob? Please explain your answer.
No. The executive, the chief executive of the United States, runs all of the executive departments. That's his or her principal job when they are made president of the United States. So there are limits on what they can do with executive orders. So you can't issue an executive order to go tell the FBI to go kill all your political opponents, no matter what Trump says. So because that's an unconstitutional, unlawful order. Unconstitutional and unlawful orders are not allowed by anyone in either the military or the executive branch, including the President of the United States.
All right, let's go to Aloha Dave in Mexico. Question: is the role of the government to protect its populations? And if not?
So in some governments, which are totalitarian, let's take the Russian government, for example, you don't kill 350,000 people who tried to take somebody else's country and you protecting your population. So in the United States, for example, under the Constitution, which we are put together, we are guaranteed certain inalienable rights. So life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness was the Declaration of Independence, but that's not what's guaranteed to us under the Constitution. But the welfare and well-being of the people of the United States is the responsibility of our elected representatives.
Let's continue on here. Let us go over to, let's see here. Let's go to Aloha Day Part 2 here. What is the big deal? We have no way to protect the populace. How do we get that through UFOs?
Well, if we are so technologically inferior to them, I don't know the answer. So this is one thing you can always get from me. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. So I don't know the level of technological advancement they have over us, or how long it will take us to come somewhere near parity to the extent we can defend ourselves. But if they are so technologically superior, they can clean out our ability to defend ourselves in a heartbeat. Just by the methods I told you earlier that we want to prevent the Russians from getting. They can come in, drop a weapon, and be gone before we can do anything. So this is my main point in why whoever ET is, our destruction can't be their ultimate goal, because they could have done it forever ago. I don't know what their goal is, but that can't be it.
All right.
Look, the stories are that 70,000 years ago, we got tinkered with and they made us Homo sapiens sapiens. If they can do that level of work, they can engineer, add function to a virus, and wipe out every human on the planet.
All right, Bob, let's continue on with some awesome audience questions here. Let's go back to Eli. Are we seeing two different initiatives from Congress, one from the Senate, a new legislation, and one from the House, a possible select committee? Are we advising them both?
So we, the people, need to tell our elected representatives in both the House and the Senate what we want. They're supposed to represent us, but how can they know what we want if we don't raise hell with them? So call up your Congress critters, call up your senators, and tell them to pass a law ordering the Department of Defense and the intelligence community and all others in and out of government who are holding on these secrets to tell us the truth.
All right, let's move on to another question. Let's go to Dino. A little bit controversial one here. Why does NASA bother to fake the space station?
I don't believe this space station is fake. So, and look, I have equipment which is flown on the space station along with a bunch of other people that are in groups that I'm in. So I was one of the first people to talk to Owen Garriott when they were allowed to directly communicate with people on Earth. And I tracked the International Space Station and the shuttle as it went over, and I talked to them. I know because I had highly directive antennas that they were actually in space above me. So it's not fake.
I would agree. I never took Dino Bravo fan for a flat earther. That's for sure. Super Crazy wants to know, what do you foresee will be the biggest UFO news coming this year?
I think between David Grush's op-ed and Lou Elizondo's book and some whistleblowers finally opening up that have direct personal involvement and knowledge will be what mostly constitutes the big news this year.
If Lou's book gets permission to be released.
So let me tell you, look, he learned from David Grush. They don't dare deny him the right to publish, because those that did deny him have to say why they're denying it, what they're representing, putting them up to doing the denial, etc. They have to reveal too much to deny everything.
All right, let's continue on here. And let's go to Eli McInnes, different Eli. Has Senator Gillibrand said anything about this Aaro report? She did throw her hat in the ring to fund it. Is she going to answer for funding Aaro and this volume 1 of the report, or nah?
I don't know the answer because she has not commented so far. Now, follow Ascapo, follow him, and go see what he finds, because he will run her down through the halls of the Senate until she comments. Matt Laszlo is a good reporter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let us go on to Eli. So if David Grush becomes a staffer, he could literally run the show if he becomes part of the select committee?
No staffer runs the show, but in fact, he will be amongst the staffers that do all the work, while the actors and the grandstanders are the people we elected. It's the staffers that do all the work. So, but what they will not be able to do is deny him need to know and right to know.
All right. Let us go over to Mario. Bob, all the UFO activity, alien and government around the world has been exponential. Is this activity indicative of something? Maybe an alien invasion?
It's indicative of something. I'm just telling you, the last 5 years, I've gone from, why can't I ever see a UFO, to the point where, am I going to go a single day without seeing a UFO? Because that's where I am. I mean, Lala and I see crap every single day. The only time we don't see stuff is the days we don't look. I don't know the answer, but I can tell you this. This activity is worldwide and increasing. And no amount of obfuscation by Aaro will be able to keep that hidden.
All right, let's run over to another question, Bob. Super Crazy's asking, what would happen if the president said, yes, we have retrieved UFOs and alien bodies, but that's all we are willing to say, so shut up about it?
That would be an order to the people he is able to order in the executive branches of government. So, and he would put it into an executive order saying, don't say anything beyond me. And then that would control government unless it's an unlawful order. And then Congress could force his hand by passing a law that is veto proof. And then he would also have to obey. Look, we have checks and balances in this country. And then the Supreme Court of the United States ultimately could say that was an unlawful order given by the president. It's unconstitutional because it's a prior abridgment to these people's freedom of speech. I mean, look, we have 3 branches of government which are co-equal to keep excesses happening from one of them. But I would love it if President Biden or the next president, whoever it is, did exactly that. I'd be happy, because there's no way it would stop there. There's no way. They've done everything they can to stomp on this story when Christopher Mellon and Lou Elizondo sneaked 3 videos out and showed it to Blumenthal and Leslie Kean. They can't even stop anything after that. And brave people in the United States Navy.
Very true. Kevin Day and his team did a great job. Let's go to Cosmic Joe. Are there space arcs built to transport us to another solar system?
Ben Rich, who ran Lockheed Skunk Works, told several people, including really good friend to Dave and me, Jim Goodall, that we know how to take ET home. He doesn't have to phone home. And Jim saw Bob Lazar years before he came out. And now Danny Sheehan has corroborated major elements of Bob Lazar's story from 1976, when he became a staffer to President Jimmy Carter. I just think the answer is yes, we have some kind of transport. And I'm just going to tell you, Lala and I have seen these triangles fly over us multiple times here. And Tom Dongo and Melinda Leslie and other people out in Sedona, Arizona are seeing military aircraft flying around protecting weird craft, which if you get up under them are triangles going in and out of an underground military place out in Sedona, Arizona. So those things can clearly transport to another solar system, in my opinion.
All right. And that would be also titled The Secret Space Program That We're Not Supposed to Know About,
which Richard Dolan's been writing about for well over a decade.
Real Alien Hunter on X is asking, do you think that humans are farm animals for the aliens?
It is possible. It is possible, but I don't know the answer.
All right. Mario is asking, are you familiar with Oumuamua, the alien ship returning back to Earth? What do you know about this ship, and when will it arrive to Earth?
Okay, Mario. What I know of Oumuamua is I know the orbital elements that described its trajectory as it came into the solar system and as it left. And while there were minor accelerations, there weren't enough to prevent it from becoming having a hyperbolic trajectory. What does hyperbolic trajectory mean? It means it's going so fast as it comes through the solar system that the sun's gravity is not strong enough to capture it, so it will become an interstellar object ultimately. I see nothing and have seen nothing that says anything has changed Oumuamua from going away from the sun forever.
So what you're saying is you don't think it's alien?
I didn't say that. I said I just don't think it's coming back.
Yeah, they saw what was happening here. They said, we don't want any part of that.
There's no intelligent life down there. Beam me out of here, Scotty.
Yeah. What the hell fell at your end?
My phone.
All
Hope I didn't break it. No, I didn't.
right, let's continue on as we got 7 minutes and a bunch of questions left. Paramarv is asking, Science Bob, one thing the moon hoax crowd points to is the problems presented by the Van Allen belt. If we went to the moon, how did we beat the Van Allen belt issues?
Okay, so you can walk through an open pit nuclear reactor as long as you go through there quick enough and you won't die from it. The same thing is true about the Van Allen radiation belts. So we send people up into orbit and the Van Allen radiation belts are out here. So we fire our rockets and we go through the Van Allen radiation belts on the way to the moon. And we go through so quickly that no major damage is done to the people or the equipment on board. If they hung out in a circular orbit in the Van Allen radiation belts, they'd be dead in a month. It's exposure. The exposure going through the Van Allen belts is too small to kill them.
Gotcha. All right, let's continue on. Yes, no, maybe is asking, could Kirkpatrick have his clearance removed for having a poor character? Thanks for listening from New Zealand. I appreciate it.
Yes, no, maybe for listening from New Zealand. So he can only have his clearance removed for cause, and character, you'd have to just say what you meant by poor character. So if he hasn't violated the terms of his non-disclosure agreements and hasn't committed other moral turpitudes or crimes and misdemeanors that invalidate him having a clearance, there's nothing they could do to him. And he probably will say he was given lawful orders and he followed them.
Continuing on, let's go to Paramarv. Science Bob, we've heard a number of wild tales related to the UFO aliens esoteric. What is the wildest one that you believe and or can confirm?
I know that people are being visited by non-human intelligences because Lala and I were visited by a non-human intelligence. And you can go to my Facebook page and look for the photo album, which is public, photos from our cameras, and you can see the picture that Lala took of a non-human entity 6 feet in front of us. So they're here, they're coming. And I don't know why they're here, because they haven't taken me into their confidence. But that's the wildest one that I know for a fact is true because I experienced it.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Noble Patrick, who is asking, anything happening with Chris Bledsoe this Easter?
I would say that's the most likely time for something major to happen, because multiple times he has had the major events happen on Easter. It's likely, but I don't know. And my recollection of all the times that Chris and I have interacted, he wished for, but did not know things would happen on Easter. He just wished for it. And they did it sometimes. And those are detailed in his bestseller, UFOs of God, where Bob and his interactions with Chris are the next to last incident in his book.
All right, let's continue on, Bob. We got 3.5 minutes and 2 more questions. Super Crazy is asking, would free energy actually be free, or will we somehow still get billed for it?
That's an excellent question. So it's going to be captured on a piece of technology that will then hook it up to our equipment. And so whoever builds that piece of technology so that we can hook it up to our other equipment will be able to charge us for it, because somebody has to build it.
My boss.
Bill, yes, Bill, Kirkpatrick can be removed for cause, character, for lying to Congress, but he would have to be convicted. So one of them will have to refer him to the Department of Justice for action. And I don't know whether they will. And if they do, I don't know whether the Department of Justice will take action.
All right. Has that happened often where people in those high up positions have been taken to court for lying to Congress?
I don't know the answer to that, but people have been taken to court for lying. And I'll give you an example. What's his name? Trump's lawyer got referred to the Department of Justice for lying to Congress, and he was convicted and sent to prison.
All right, let's go to Kim Jellin here. The gorgeous teethed one is asking, Bob, what's the latest web discoveries? Is the universe expanding or not?
The universe is expanding, but what it looks like is our version of the beginning, Big Bang backwards, is wrong, because we've now seen galaxies and stars that formed way earlier than we ever dreamed possible. So we do not understand the beginning of our observable universe. But what we do believe is we have seen some of the first stars that were born inside the universe after whatever it was that kicked us off. We've seen stars that have only hydrogen and helium in them. So they haven't grown up and exploded and put out heavier elements, because all the heavy elements in the universe came from when an old star at the beginning of the universe made of only hydrogen and helium exploded. And then every one of these supernovas and novas afterwards made more heavy elements out of hydrogen and helium.
Love it. Love it. Science Bob, it's always good to have you here on Spaced Out Radio to bring your knowledge. 30 seconds. What is your conclusion?
We need to push on our Congress critters to tell us the truth. I don't know another way for us to proceed, is push on our Congress people and our senators to have the government tell us the truth. They will act if they believe the American populace is demanding answers.
Love it. Science Bob, always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio once again. And, you know, I can't wait. We're going to be seeing you in 2 months, less than 2 months now, in Reno with you and Lala Bright. I really appreciate it. And by the way, I know you wanted to keep this quiet, but happy 70th birthday from all of us.
And thank you very much. And I'm happy. I feel good to be 70 years old, I got to tell you. I remember when I didn't think I would live to see Halley's Comet, and now I've long outlasted it.
Science Bob and Friends continues. Actually, next month, but next, hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio. Courtney Marcassani will be here for the UFO Report. We'll be right back. All right, Bobby. Thank you, bud. Appreciate you.
See you. Good night.
Good night, bud. Science Bob, everybody. The big bad Science Bob. There he was. There he goes. And I'll be right back, guys. Stay tuned for hour number 3 next. All right, everybody. We're getting ready. Courtney Marcassani has her hair down. You know there's some serious crap going to happen now. Holy cow. She's like, oh, Dave, really? Really? Courtney, just so you know, I'm having an audio problem for music tonight. I think your theme song is safe, but just in case, I might just announce it. May, how you doing? Good to see you. Oh, there's Courtney. Anomalous debates. See, I remembered, Courtney. I remembered. Hi, Anomalous debates. Mm-hmm. All right, we got just over a minute here. It's been a great show so far. Great show. Whose birthday is it? Whose birthday is it? Oh, look at that. We love Courtney. Look at that. Oh, Tim's past birthday. Yes. Yes. Big thank you tonight from Jeff, Pick, CS, Maddie, Human Carl, T-Bone ×2, W. Decker, Dave, Mama Catherine, Patrick, Lala, and Bob. Really appreciate the love and support tonight, guys. Really helps us out of what we do. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag. And here we go. Hello and welcome to the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you with us as we broadcast to the listening ears all around this beautiful planet and into outer space where the aliens are tuning in. Want to say hello to everyone tuning us in and remind you that you can listen to us on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Razzmatazz. I think that was a Nazareth song, wasn't it? Razzmatazz. No, that was Razzmanazz. Well, it's your password for tonight. And use it wisely, space travelers, because you don't want to mess that up. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Sabrina Bree Kaler was a 20-year-old woman known for her loving and caring nature. Despite having a mild disability that left her with the mental capacity of a 14-year-old, Bree was excelling in life. However, her condition often made her more trusting and naive than others her age, and in 2002, she went missing under mysterious circumstances. On June 24, 2002, Bree left her home in Erie County, Pennsylvania, and entered 26-year-old David Sherman Heck's red and black Ford Bronco. She wore a bathing suit, shorts, and gym shoes, and said she'd return by 4 p.m. that afternoon. David was a friend of Bree's live-in boyfriend, and due to her disability, she was incredibly trusting even toward those she barely knew. David and Sabrina drove to a local swimming hole at Eagley Park, where several witnesses saw them. The pair swam briefly, but their peaceful day was disrupted when David's ex-girlfriend arrived. As per news reports, David had a heated argument with his ex-girlfriend, whose name has not been given. The dispute between the two had been ongoing, and they even fought the previous day. David and Bree left the swimming spot to avoid further trouble and went to the Tasty Twist ice cream stand. There, David contacted the local authorities to report the altercation with his ex-girlfriend. The official reports state that a state trooper arrived at the location and took them back to the swimming spot to settle the matter. David and his ex-girlfriend finally agreed to leave each other alone. However, what happened to Bree after this incident is still a mystery, as she has not been seen or heard from since. Witnesses reported seeing Bree and David at the swimming hole earlier that day, and the state trooper remembers escorting them back. According to David, after resolving the matter with his ex-girlfriend, he drove Bree to the West Erie Plaza movie theater so she could watch a movie. David said they were going home, but Bree wanted to watch a movie, so he gave her money for the film and a ride home. However, there is no record of Bree entering the cinema, and investigators doubt whether she even made it to the plaza. Investigators have considered David a suspect in her disappearance from day one, but there has never been enough evidence to implicate him. Bree may have been spotted in the Elk Creek access area on June 24, 2002, although this witness report has never been substantiated. After Bree disappeared, David was arrested and charged with burglary. In 2009, Bree's parents made the heartbreaking decision to have her declared deceased in absentia and hope that one day her case will be solved. Bree's sister said, "Her blue eyes were so bright and full of life, and I'm afraid that this man has taken that away from her, but we have no proof. Bree would have called by now. She would have certainly contacted my mother or brother Scott." Sabrina Bree May Kaler is described as a Caucasian female with dark blonde hair and blue eyes, 5'1" to 5'3" tall, and 125 to 135 pounds. One of her ears is pierced, and she has braces. She was last seen wearing a two-piece bathing suit, a pink or red top, blue shorts, and white sneakers. Anyone with any information regarding Bree's disappearance or whereabouts is asked to contact the Erie, Pennsylvania Police Department, 814-870-1125, and reference case number 022-3863.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another creepy story on Spaced Out Radio. And if you like those, just head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing, and we will be able to get you some more of those just for free. All you got to do is hit subscribe. From the missing to the mysterious of the UFO world, Courtney Marcassani is here for the UFO report. And Courtney, I'm having technical difficulties tonight with my audio player. So
Okay.
I don't have any theme music, but I can make it up for you if you want.
No, that's okay. We can do the movements.
Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, pew. We can do the sound effects.
There we go.
That's okay.
There's your sound effects for Courtney Marcassani joining us once again for the UFO report. And thank you for being here. I want to start off with the Phoenix Lights because it is the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights and still one of the most highly controversial UFO witnesses, and of tens of thousands, upwards of 70,000 people are said to have witnessed the boomerangs that were over the Phoenix, Mesa, Tucson area that day. I mean, if you weren't a UFO fan or even into this subject, the Phoenix Lights really, really made you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I didn't know it was the anniversary, so it's good that we're taking a moment and giving it homage to the groundbreaking landmark sighting that it was, because it was huge. There were so many witnesses. There were so many people who came out and said that they saw it. And then, of course, what ensued, with Symington and being on the news and making a lark out of it all. It was quite the travesty, actually. At the end of it, but so many people remember the Phoenix Lights and still talk about it today, so it should be honored.
I agree with you, and like I was saying to Science Bob earlier, I mean, if there ever was a UFO cover-up, this is the one that even people in new ufology over the last 7 years really need to start focusing in on. I mean, with 70,000 witnesses, military witnesses, civilian witnesses. I mean, actor Kurt Russell is the guy who first called it in to the airport tower, to say what was up with this thing in the sky. I mean, it's unbelievable how little this subject really is talked about in the world of ufology.
Well, and let's go deeper, right? Because Fife Symington, who was the leadership at the time, he, basically plays this prank where he gets ready to have a whole press release. He invites members of the press. Everybody's anticipating that he's going to talk about what happened and what information came from the Air Force, and he's getting ready to, disclose something, and yet he comes out with his press guy who's wearing an ET suit. So it just made a mockery of the whole thing. But I want to point this out to people because not a lot of people know this, but Symington was actually related to Stuart Symington, and he was the Secretary of the Air Force.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention that to people who didn't know that the current Symington at the time was related to Stuart Symington, who was a former head of the Air Force. So go figure, right? Track that down, UFO nuts. The political side, there's always a hidden political side to all of it.
Now, over the years, Symington has come out regretting his actions the following day, where he had his press secretary dress up as a green alien walking out in front of all the cameras with handcuffs on. To me, if I lived in the Arizona area, it would have been a slap in the face if I would have seen that. I would have felt that my government that I elected or helped elect or maybe didn't vote for, but still had to have the guy serving us, I would have felt really let down. That
It was a slap in the face. I mean, it was a slap in the face. That one woman, the activist who went around talking to everybody afterwards. I mean, she got petitions, she got people to sign, she got phone numbers. She reached out to all these different witnesses working on getting, like their own little mini disclosure there. And he just undercut all that with his, the farce that he made of the whole thing. And so I'm sure that his conscience was feeling guilty because he was also an experiencer. He came out later. Did you know that?
That I did not know.
Yeah. So he, threw everybody under the bus, and he was supposed to be the leader at the leadership at the time. So I'm sure he did feel some guilt over that and some remorse.
Well, the idea though is he's never come out and stated that he was told to do that. I still believe strongly, and so did Bob, that there were larger forces who told him, but he's never come out publicly to state that.
He alluded to it, though. He alluded to it in one of the documentaries that was done. I saw this over the past year. I saw a documentary, and he was in it, and he said that there was somebody that came in and said, no, this is what you're going to do. I'll find it for you. Yeah, he alluded to it, that there was some higher group that came in and told him what to do. Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear some specifics on that.
I'll get it. I'll get it for you.
But not just the clip, but I wish Symington would come out and clear his name on it. Yeah, he came out and said, I witnessed it. I feel bad. Forgive me, all the stuff that a typical politician would say, but I wish he would have been grilled harder on a lot of those questions.
Well, maybe there was a quid pro quo, you never know. Sometimes these kind of things happen in back rooms, and it's, handshake and agreements. I mean, we don't know what was promised to him in order to make that move. So maybe he can't talk about it because maybe there was some arrangement made. I know he left office eventually, but you don't know what kind of things go on. And so when people can't come and talk about things later, it makes me think that some of that shady business is going on behind the scenes to keep people quiet.
Yeah, because to me, it is literally the most impressive UFO story to date. I mean, yeah, we still talk about Roswell 70 years later. We still talk about Kecksburg in the 60s in Pennsylvania. To me, this is the one. This is the one that we need to focus on, and we don't seem, as a UFO community, to be focusing on it?
We're not focused on much except for, whatever we feel is, coming next. And there's a lot of, complaints in the community right now that, it's just so quiet and we're losing our steam and people are distracted and we're not focused. And, this is like the down cycle after having the hearing and everything. But there is news today. I know you know about it. So whenever you're ready to shift into the news that came up today, we can discuss.
Well, we can do that right now as we go from first to second gear on UFO Report with Courtney Marcassani. GOP lawmakers calling for House to form a committee on UAPs. This was a story put into thehill.com. Your thoughts?
When I met with the leadership of the House, it was with Tim Burchett, and it was last year. And I sat down with his staffer, his policy advisor, and spoke about this, about whether there was going to be another select committee designated for UAP. And he said no. He said the likelihood of that happening was very low. And the reason why was because even though there might have been some support for it, it had to go up through the Speaker of the House. And that was Kevin McCarthy at the time. And he didn't think that there would be support from McCarthy for it. But now there's obviously a new speaker. McCarthy was ejected, after all the scandals and everything with the voting with the Democrats, last year. He just was very unpopular. So now we have a new Speaker of the House. And from what I'm reading coming out of the Hill from Matt Laszlo, who is a good source, and some other individuals breaking the story, they're saying that it might be possible to get this committee, which would be huge. When I met with Danny Sheehan at the Soul Symposium, one of my recommendations to him at the time was that we need an interagency group to go through these different silos and the different programs that are stovepiped with different kinds of SAPs. And he said that was a good idea, but this is actually a good first step to something like that, to some larger group who could do an actual interagency council. So it's nice to see that there's support for this. There was an actual letter that was signed. I got the letter sent to you. I don't know if you got it too, but you can see it's pretty cool. You can see the signatures on the 2-pager recommending the committee. The other thing that I think is really interesting is that Burleson, came out on the record and said he's not happy with the Aaro report. And one of the quotes that I wanted to read to the audience, which I think is really interesting, is he said, "I don't trust the Pentagon's findings because they weren't transparent to us in a SCIF setting. They could have brought forward evidence. They could have explained what these special access programs actually do, but they are not willing to do that with Congress. So to me, it's time for them to open up the kimono, that they should show us exactly what's happening, because if they're doing something that's good for the American people, if they're being responsible with taxpayer dollars, they should have nothing to hide." So I thought that was compelling.
I think that's very compelling too. Are you surprised that we're talking about more hearings here by GOP lawmakers, and this is on the heels of Aaro basically trying to shut down this entire subject?
I'm not surprised that they want more hearings. No, I mean, that's what they've been talking about, and bringing, more whistleblowers in to give testimony like David Grush did. And these backup witnesses will basically support what he said and what evidence he's brought forward. So no, I'm not surprised that they want to move forward. I am interested in hearing about the select committee, because that would be a select committee designated for UAP investigations. So they could actually subpoena witnesses. They could, get fact testimony and follow that up through this whole process with a separate committee. So I'm interested in seeing if that's going to go through. I'm pretty sure that the hearing will also go through. And I also think that this part of the response, the strong, swift response to the DOD, saying we don't want any more hearings, the report being, really just very, very one-sided, to be kind, in terms of witnesses and testimony. I mean, they basically just passed it all off as, people misunderstanding. And these are experts in the field who are testifying. So I highly doubt there are so many misunderstandings about these programs.
4 minutes to go here before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Courtney Marcassani in our UFO report continues right now. Are you a little bit surprised that the GOP lawmakers who are wanting this UFO report really haven't publicly responded yet to the Aaro report?
No, because I think that I think that there is a lot of digesting of the actual document going on, and people who are in Congress are developing probably their responses to it. So I think this is the downtime before there's going to be a response. So no, I don't think it's that odd. I mean, obviously, Burleson going out on the record and saying that they weren't forthright in the skiff is a swift response. I mean, he's saying that we don't believe this report and that Congress is more well aware of what's going on and that this is an attempt to continue the cover up. So I think that is, very open. He's being open. I mean, and you're seeing that these, Republicans who potentially didn't vote in favor of the NDAA will be called in this next wave to respond with the House committee and with testifying, and they'll be asked to weigh in.
I'm very curious what you think on what can happen now, considering I realize that the voting public is allegedly supposed to have a lot of pull with a lot of these programs because they create and enact laws. But this is the Pentagon. This is the military-industrial complex,
right,
that they're taking on here. And I just don't know how far they're going to be able to get. I'm confused by that.
It is confusing. I think the whole process is confusing because you see this Aaro report come out. It's, essentially an outgrowth to the task force. Gillibrand supports it. Rubio supports it. They want to get to the bottom of things. They want to know where these secret programs are. Then we get a report out of it that's just continuing the cover up. And so then you have Congress coming out and, wanting to start this congressional committee. We don't know if they're going to get it passed, if the speaker's going to stand behind them or not and establish it. But if they do, this will be groundbreaking for Congress because it'll allow them to have more powers to investigate on the House, because the House, subcommittee where the hearing was done last time, they have broad powers to look into accountability. And that's why the Holman rule was brought up and other powers, because they want to try to get to the money. That's what this is all about. They want to try to get into the Pentagon and find the black budget projects.
That is true. That is true. I mean, but hasn't the door been closed?
No, it hasn't been closed yet. I mean, you're seeing some political action happening right now by the public, forcing Congress to move forward after the report has come out. So I don't think it's futile. I think that Congress still has congressional powers, and I do think that there will be some actions taken. And if we do get another hearing, then that will prove it, that the public and the American public still have voting power and still has sway.
Yeah, and let's hope that it's actually goes that way, because look, we are literally seeing probably round 3, round 4 of a UFC title fight here when it comes to UFOs. Okay, they are in the octagon. They've now, traded and sparred and thrown punches at each other. I just don't see this getting any prettier anytime soon, Courtney, as we got about 30 seconds left.
Oh, it's not pretty. I wouldn't expect it to be pretty. I mean, this is going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. So yeah, we're all going to have to be willing to go the rounds and be on the ropes a little bit going forward.
Well, we're going to see where it goes as we continue on with Courtney Marcassani and the UFO report, as Courtney comes in to give us the latest news updates on all the UFO stories that are are coming down right across the world and keeping us up to date on what's playing out in Washington, D.C. Spaced Out Radio with me, Dave Scott, and Courtney Marcassani in the UFO Report continues right after this. We're clear.
So how about me and you talking about the congressional fallout and the establishment of a potential committee way back last year, in the fall of last year? We talked about this on Spaced Out Radio. And so now it's come in full circle. So that's pretty cool.
You are very cool when it comes to all that.
Well, I know we discussed this. I know we did after the hearing as a possibility.
I know. You know what? I'll be honest with you. My stress is really high tonight due to my audio issue.
I can tell. I can tell the stress is high. Try not
Yes.
to worry. It's just us having a conversation, and nobody cares about the music. So try to let it go.
I know. Let it go. I have to recut all of my music because I erased the file.
Whoa. Now I can understand why you would be stressed.
Yeah. And so all of the theme songs, including your theme song, are gone. Like, I can't even recover. Yeah. So I have no music on here except for Steve Stockton. The Dave 101 is here. Let's see here. Robin Haynes intro is there. The news, is that here? Yeah, that's there. Oh, I know what I need to test out here. Hold on. Does that one work? Let's see. Yeah, that
very Western like.
Yeah, that's my closing. Yeah. So I literally have to redo all of my music tomorrow, and I'm literally thinking that I am going to have to ask my boss for like half a day off tomorrow, just so I can.
Do you have some days built up, or?
No, he's usually pretty good, but like I got to get in the studio and start cutting audio. I do. I don't have a choice. Well,
I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah.
Maybe it was time to freshen things up,
You know what? That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah. See it as a positive.
That's the way I'm looking at it. Because, what's funny is the last couple of months, especially during the commercial breaks, I've really, really wanted to change them up. After like 7 years of them, I'm kind of tired of them.
Yeah, so it maybe forced you. You might not have done it otherwise. So this might have forced your hand to get creative.
It totally forced my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
I cannot use any audio due to copyright infringement, except Ron Bubblefoot Thal. I think Human Carl, I lost all of those too. I lost everything. Yeah. And when I say I lost it, you can blame me for it, because I'm the one who idiotically erased it last night. Moron. Just a moron move. That's okay. We're going to have all new stuff coming up here. Yep. All new stuff. So, see where it goes. I can't leave because number one, I deleted it out of the recycling bin, and then my computer did a hardware update or a software update after the show last night. I've looked. I took in one of those programs, downloaded one of those programs, and nothing happened. The files are not there. Yep, we're gonna freshen it up. Hopefully I'll get it all done by tomorrow. PRM Productions, how you doing? So, yeah, Court, you're going to get, I don't know if I'll have the laser beams in there.
That's okay.
Those ones take a lot longer than just cutting up some music. So I have to get it all figured out tomorrow. I'm sorry.
I love all the suggestions that all the people in the chat are making about your production value and how to do your production. You got a bunch of producers.
Yeah, they're great. I got to take the intro out of this one here, and I got to steal one from last night's show for the extra as well. So here we go. Final half hour Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this gorgeous planet we live on. Yes, reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with Courtney Marcassani and the UFO Report. And before we get more into what's happening on this side of the UFO story, I do want to touch on something that we haven't really touched on. We glazed over it, but Jaime Maussan, the famed journalist of Mexico, the Walter Cronkite of Mexico, the Peter Mansbridge of Mexico. Okay, here he is still doubling down on the fact that those Nazca mummies are real, and he's now suing the Peruvian government for literally lambasting him as a criminal for taking the mummies out of the country without permission.
Defamation, right? Isn't it defamation?
Yes, defamation of character. What's your thought on this big debacle here?
Well, I mean, if he has evidence that his mummies are legitimate, then he has a case. He has a defamation case, potentially. I mean, it depends on what was said in the media and what specifically he's pointing to. I mean, he's got to have a case and a good defense, but it will all hinge on whether the mummies are real, I would think. Don't you?
But the mummies have already been proven they aren't real.
Well, I mean, I know that. That's where my belief system lies on. I was one when you and I had this conversation, I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, and you're like, what's your opinion on it? And I said, I don't believe the mummies are real. But, I had a couple scientists actually in one of my UFOs groups come back and, say, there's been 17 different scientists that say they are. And so I know that there are people that are, on pro Jaime Maussan's side. But, I don't think that that's going to go anywhere. And I don't think that he has a case. So no.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. All right, let's go back to this side of North America. Get to the real UFO story, because that one's kind of over and done with. I'm so tired of that story. I did 2 voiceover documentaries for Nazca mummies.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. And one never made it. The guy never finished it. But that's okay. He still paid me, which was good.
Yeah, you want to get paid for doing your work.
Yeah. But we want to get back into what's happening with Congress and everything like that. You brought something up during the break that you wanted to get to.
What was that? I don't remember. What did I bring up?
You said you wanted my opinion on the congressional dates or the group that wanted to come together or something like that. I don't even know.
You got me. What I brought up during the break is that we had talked about this. We had talked about a a select committee, because I was in Washington last year after the hearing, and I met with Burchett's policy advisor, his senior policy advisor, and I asked him, about the select committee, and he said that he didn't think that it was going to get passed through, even if there was support for it, because of the House. And so during the break, I was reminding you that we talked about that. We talked about that a while ago.
I got so caught up in the Jaime Maussan stuff.
It's okay.
Blanked me. Thanks for bailing me out.
It's all right. No problem. We discussed it. We discussed it back then, and it was after the hearing. And Burchett's staffer said he didn't see it. The likelihood of it passing was really low. And then even if they got people to sign the letters, that they didn't think it was going to pass through the Speaker of the House. What's different now is that you have wide support for it. The letter's been signed requesting it. And it seems like they probably wouldn't have done that unless they had support already, some buy-in by the Speaker. So it seems like they might have a better shot at getting it pushed through now.
Well, I mean, where does this put average people who have sightings? Maybe they record them on their cell phones. Maybe they record them off their Ring camera, or maybe they have security cameras at home. Where does this put regular people who are having encounters now?
I mean, I think they're SOL, because you're really just going to end up going to one of the apps to report it. You might call, a MUFON representative to report it as usual. So people that are just out in the public, there's not a lot of resources, honestly, for reporting. I do know that there's the Phenom app now. There's other apps that are taking information and data, but I don't know. There's not a lot of national reporting programs for people to call into. So most people usually, if there is a close encounter, they usually end up calling 911 or their local police. I mean, that's what we did, my daughter and I.
Yeah. I agree with you. I really do believe that, for right now, experiencers have no leg to stand on with their information outside of putting it on social media and their social media accounts. Because, yes, you could send it to MUFON or New Fork, two trusted, communities there for reporting. But I think it's best just to hold on to your information right now.
Well, and would you want to be a military person sending your UFO encounter up into the Aaro website and reporting it through Aaro after the report that just came out, or anybody for that matter? I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust it. Yeah.
But here's the other thing too. What do commercial pilots do now?
Well, there is a group actually trying to establish commercial reporting now. When I was on UAP Medical Coalition, that was one of the things that I learned about that was actually happening, that there was a group to do commercial reporting. Now, I just blasted that on LinkedIn a couple months ago, that there was a new commercial reporting lobby, and they had a bunch of people sign it. So that's actually going to be coming. If it's not passed already, that will be probably being passed. So that's good news for commercial pilots, that they'll have a place to report to. Let's just hope that it's got integrity.
Well, if I'm a pilot, whether I'm commercial or not right now, I'm thinking probably not a good idea to report this. If I'm a military pilot, I'm going right back, to I see nothing. The old Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. I see nothing. That's what I'm saying. It's just not worth it. And I think that even though we've had 40 plus whistleblowers now testify in front of Congress, if I'm a whistleblower, I am literally looking at saying, maybe this isn't worth it. I know it's bothering me. I know it's the right thing to do, but I'm really not sure if this is worth it, whether it's for my financial reasons, my retirement reasons, my career reasons, or my safety reasons. I don't think it's a good idea. That's the way I would think.
I feel the same, and I think that they're setting that up intentionally to establish that tension between what would be, a discovery process for investigations. They don't want it. They said this in Congress. I mean, Burchett said it when he was in the actual hearing. He said, They didn't want the reports. They didn't want it, and so he was like, I can't believe that they didn't even want to hear these reports that were happening. And so it's interesting because there's these two different sides, one kind of working for getting more data, gathering more data, and then Aaro saying, yeah, we don't want more data. And it's exactly like what the Air Force did with Project Blue Book. They didn't want to have to handle all those reports that they were getting from all over the country. So I have taken, you're going to like this, I have taken to calling Sean Kilpatrick Captain Queeg. Do you remember Captain Queeg? He was the character out of the USS Kane Mutiny, the USS Kane in the book, The Kane Mutiny. And he was kind of this wild character that lost his mind and went nuts. So I've been taking to calling Sean Kilpatrick Captain Queeg. So hopefully that'll take root. I'm sure he'll love that when people start saying, hey, Captain Queeg, how's it going? It's just my way of trying to like make light of a horrible situation, because he really is creating the muddy waters with all of his actions that he's taking.
Well, we're putting the blame on him, but Bob McGwier, Science Bob, tends to believe there's many above him that are calling that shot. Are we right
sure.
to blame? Are we right to blame Kirkpatrick for all of this and give him the heat that he is getting, or
Look,
do we need to be focusing it elsewhere?
Yeah, he shares in the responsibility. Come on, he's the figurehead. He's the figurehead. So yeah, there can be people above him, but why should we give him a get out of jail free card when he was basically running this Aaro program and the leadership for it and the report that they put out? I mean, really, Bob, are you going to read that report and say, yeah, this is okay for us to give him an out because his superiors told him to? No, I'm sorry. That is not a good excuse for us to lay off of him. He had responsibility, and he's towing the line, and he's carrying this narrative down the line, and he's sticking with it. And not only that, he's mudslinging and calling whistleblowers liars in the report. And so, yeah, no, I don't think that's copacetic. Not for somebody like you and I who've been following this field as long as we have, to see something that we could have really seen some progress with what they would call an independent evaluation and the synthesis of all the historical data. It was clearly not represented in the report. And Congress is basically saying that by saying we need to establish a select committee to do our own investigation against the DOD.
And I agree that it needs to be done. It totally needs to be done. Can it be done, though?
I don't agree with Bob on that last point. I just want to state that clearly. I think that he might be being generous and saying, yeah, it's his superiors. Well, then he should recognize when he doesn't have the power or the authority to present the facts and the material to the public in a fair and unbiased manner. And then he should recuse himself from that. That would be something that I would actually respect versus taking the heat and bowing down to the pressure of it.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm harsh. I'm harsh, but you know what? When we're American tax-paying citizens paying for this type of investigation, and you've been in the field as long as some people have, knowing that there is evidence, even from the citizen hearing till now, it's ridiculous for them to take their own witness testimonies and say that it was mistakes, that people misunderstood.
Well, we have about 8 minutes to go here before we have to say good night and start wrapping this up. I mean, but we got a lot of information to process yet. When we look at, okay, you have been in contact with numerous whistleblowers regarding this. I've been in contact with a couple as well. When we look at this entire topic, where are we going now? Do we have to rely on the elected officials to try and get this door back open? Is that even possible? I mean, I'm surprised going down that road for the whistleblowers. I'm surprised somebody like Senator Gillibrand, who helped set up Aaro, is not even saying a thing about this.
Look, she turned tack. It was obvious, like midstream, She turned tack and went to support Aaro regardless of what they were going to do or say, because she helped to establish it. And so she bought in whole hog with Aaro, and you haven't heard much from her or Rubio for that matter. And they helped to stand it up and took it out of the UAP task force into this new evolution, which is now Aaro. And so I doubt that she's going to want to be critical of her darling, her Aaro. And so I think then from what you see with her pattern of behavior with that, then you need to look to the people who are actually taking legal action and still working on this and are not feeling resolved with just the Aaro report. They're marching forward. And so, she's just, nobody's going to listen to her or take her seriously. So better, I guess, to stay quiet at this stage.
What about somebody like Susan Goff?
Oh, well, she's just the DOT person that's like the gatekeeper. She's one of the gatekeepers that's like, nothing to see here. Look, we investigated it. I don't have anything on that. She's going to continue to do the same thing that she's been doing. Because otherwise, if she were to say, oh, yeah, this is evidence, then it would go against everything that she's already gone out on the public record and said, which is there is no evidence. And so the only way this cover up is going to get exposed is by more whistleblowers, more pressure, people on the inside potentially coming out. I just hope that the darker side of this doesn't silence individuals who would speak out and help Congress find the evidence because of threats or intimidation, because that seems like what this comes down to.
In your circles of conversation over the last couple of days since the Aaro report came out, how are they going to regroup to regain momentum for any type of confirmation or disclosure?
There's conversations going on. There's quiet conversations going on, and there is strategy happening in the whistleblower group. That. I mean, they're trying to figure out how to adjust. But I do think that this select committee, the letter being signed, is obviously an action showing us that they have a plan forward, because that letter was signed and released today. And Matt Laszlo put it out immediately. So that definitely means there's a plan of attack moving forward. They're not going to be idle.
Who's it led by?
I think that the first author of it and the first signer was Burleson. I'll have to go and look at who the first two people are that pushed it forward. And then they would have gotten people to like co-sponsor or support it. It's not really like a bill passing. So it's not really like co-signers, but they're all, I think, people of the House, because it's a House committee. So it would all be people from the House. Largely, I saw it was Republican. So you can see it. You can see the letter online. Let me pull it up right now quickly. Hold on. I'll pull it up because I have it here in my, let's see. Burleson was first, and then Tim Burchett are the two top signers, and then Jared Moskowitz, Anna Paulina Luna, Nancy Mace, Matt Gates.
AOC should be on there.
No, she's actually in the. Okay, Andy Ogles and then Troy Nels. Nels, I don't know. Ogles has been mentioned. Moskowitz has been involved. Burleson has been involved here as of late. Burchett's been a long time involved. And Luna was one of the people that was in the skiff. Mace was at the hearing. She spoke very compelling about the financial stuff. And Gates, of course, is one of the people that went down to Florida and had access. And he leaked some of the information, some of the classified information from his trip actually into the hearing. And so, yeah, no, AOC, she's not a high up ranking member in the House Select Committee. That would be Jamie Rankin. And I think Burchett is also a ranking member. So it's important that Burchett's on the request and the letter signed. Very important.
2.5 minutes to go with you tonight, Courtney. Where do we see things going the rest of this week and maybe into next?
I think that I'm holding out that we're going to hear about Grush's op-ed. I'm hoping that that's going to come out by the end of the week, because this is all strategically being moved forward, I think, by the whistleblower group and potentially Chris Mellon and David Grush working in concert to move stuff forward. So I'm hoping we'll hear about the op-ed by the end of the week.
I'm hoping that we get some positive news coming out. I know Ross Coulthart from News Nation is being very public about his disgust for everything that's happened, maybe taking it a little too personally, I would say, as a journalist.
Yeah.
But all of his sources have got him fired up, from News Nation being excluded from the media portion of the report and going from there to trying to get this story out.
Look, it's very confronting. I mean, it's obviously a personal affront to Ross and his reporting and his, expose, against the government, and his, really his tactics and how he has brought this issue all out in the public against the government. So it's definitely a personal affront to him and his reporting. And I can imagine why he would feel so disgusted by it when he's coming back out on the record now after seeing the Aaro report and saying that he is speaking personally with a small group of people inside the DoD that have done back engineering, and that they're continuing to do it, and that there is an ongoing program. I mean, it must be so infuriating for him. I mean, you can imagine.
Oh, I can imagine. Trust me on that. I can imagine all too well. Courtney Marcassani, I always want to say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio with another incredible UFO report. You're putting a lot of good content out on X right now / Twitter. Let everybody know where they can find you on that social media platform.
Yeah, Twitter is my most updated social media, I think. And I do updates on LinkedIn, but not as much. So you can find me at Inspired Creative, and creative is CRTV, creative. So I'm on X and I post daily, and I always post if we get information from people that are on the inside about upcoming UAP information, whatever that might be, whether it's political or otherwise.
All right, Courtney, you are the best, as per usual. Thank you so much for coming back on Spaced Out Radio. We'll talk to you very soon.
Yes, see you. Bye, everyone.
Good night, everybody. And on that note, we're going to pause. And I hate to cut this short, but I do have to do some major editing tonight in order to get audio back into the show for the radio side. I want to say a big thank you to Science Bob, Lala, Patrick, Mama Catherine, Dave, T-Bone ×2, W. Decker, Human Carl, Maddie, CS Picks, Jeff, and Major Lee. Tomorrow night on the show, and hopefully I'll have the audio back, Matt Lay is going to join us, the science of paranormal research. This is going to be a good one. He's a very brilliant man. Very brilliant. One of the best beards. He's got voted the best beard ever on Spaced Out Radio. You'll see it tomorrow night. So normally I'll end with an audio cue, but tonight I'm just going to end the show. I thank you for being here, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow, everyone. And Human Carl, this one's for you, my friend. Thank you very much for being a big fan over the years. You're going to get through that surgery. Bill WD-40 has lubed up the operating room for you. Everything's lubed up. You're going to go in nice and smooth, come out nice and smooth, and we'll talk to you very soon. You heal up, buddy, and we love you around here. So make sure that you're back with us as soon as you can after your surgery. All right, everyone, take care, and see you tomorrow night.